Well, good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lee Lambert, and it's my pleasure and honor to serve as your Chancellor at Pima Community College. I'm so excited that today we could host the first ever all-college virtual meeting. This will be the first of many to come. But before I begin, I'd like to first acknowledge that today's virtual event is taking place on the ancestral lands of the Tohono O'odham and Pasquiyaki nations. We have so much positive things happening at the college, and I look forward to sharing some of those things with you this afternoon. But also, after I move through this particular segment, I'm going to turn it over to our provost, Dr. Dolores Duran-Certa, to talk about what's happening on the academic and student sides of the house. And then I'm going to turn it over from there to Dr. Dave B. to talk about our financial state here at the college, and then it'll come back to me to talk about the recovery reentry process to the institution, and then from there we will field questions from all of you. And by the way, we did receive a number of questions pre-event, and so if we're not answering them in this format, hopefully we'll be able to provide answers going forward. So first and foremost, let me start with the student story. So about a weekend and a half ago, I received a telephone call. It was a Saturday. I was busy. Let me back up. It wasn't a phone call. I received a text message, and it was from one of our students. And he was in a state of alarm. He had no food. He was close to being evicted. And he was reaching out to me saying, "Chancellor, is there anything you can do to help me?" Unfortunately, because he was not a FAFSA eligible student, we could not provide CARES Act funding for him. So I said, I will get back to you quickly. I reached out to Marcy Euler in the foundation. Marcy said that Edgar Soto was running point for the foundation emergency funds. I talked to Edgar. And quickly, Edgar was in communications with our students. That's what makes Pima a great institution, our ability to be responsive to the needs of our students. And I'm so proud to say that that's what we are about as a college. And we understand, first and foremost, it's about community and about how we help support the success of this community. Also, I'm so excited that when we received our CARES Act money just a couple of weeks ago, we received it on a Monday night. And then we also were informed that there were a little bit of changes to what we thought the criteria was going to be. Quickly, Norma and the team and so many people across the college, from facilities to IT, to the business office, to the bursar's office, to student services. I mean, it spanned the whole gamut, and I gave them a challenge. I want this money prepared to be dispersed by Thursday. I don't know if they thought they could pull off that goal, and guess what? They all rose to the occasion. We understood, first and foremost, that many of our students were hurting. They were without food. Some of them were at risk of losing their place to stay, and many other challenges that our students face. And our employees, again, stepped up quickly to address the needs of the students. And we are so grateful that we were able to be in a position to provide that level of support. And I just like to say, I want to thank all of you who have been supporting the Pima Foundation, because your funds are so important now more than ever, because we have so many of our students who have so much need. And unfortunately, not all of those students can be met, their needs cannot be met through the CARES Act. And so all of your support to that fund has made a big difference, and I really appreciate that, and I hope folks continue to support our Student Emergency Fund program through our foundation. Also, I want to thank the faculty and the staff for just the enormous transition that we all made from our face-to-face world into a virtual learning environment. In just a short period of time, we were able to move nearly 2,000 courses into a virtual format. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that with all of our courses because many of our courses, less than about 500 of them, require some type of hands-on component that we're hoping to deliver on this summer. And also, as you all know, we already had PIMA Online, and over 30% of our enrollment was already in the PIMA Online format. Also, I've seen so many other heartwarming stories across the district. People reached out and said, can we have a graduation? We need to have a graduation, but we know we can't do it in person, but let's focus on what we can do. So we're excited to announce that we're going to have the first ever virtual graduation on May 21st at 7 p.m. Our commencement speaker will be George Key. We're so grateful that our Faculty Senate President, Josie Milliken, will deliver a few remarks along with our board chair, Damian Klinko, and we have a special guest also sending a message to our students, and that is our great mayor, Mayor Regina Romero. Those are just a few of the many exciting things. Let me also share that PIMA has also been stepping up to support the larger community. I mean, our students and Nancy Spalding and the faculty in our fashion design program quickly pivoted to say, what can we do to help provide face masks to healthcare professionals and other frontline responders. And so they have quickly stepped up, and they have been making masks essentially from the time we've started. And that required a partnership with area nonprofits as well as with private sector businesses like Kathy Sewing. Also, we were fortunate that we were able to donate to the community over 400 N95 masks, over 220 boxes of gloves, which amount to about 22,000 individual gloves that we have turned over to Pima County to really help the needs of our medical professionals. But it doesn't end there. We are also partnering with the University of Arizona to make face shields. And so again, your Pima Community College is stepping up to help support the success of our larger community. Also, many of the projects we had were in play before COVID-19 are still progressing. We're excited that our Centers of Excellence projects are on track and on schedule. And I really want to thank Bill Ward's team, David Dore's team, and the faculty groups that are associated and the staff associated with those projects. Those projects represent hope for this community because it is in those program areas that the opportunities for the future we're already there, but will be increasingly more important as we go forth over the horizon. And I'll give you an example. I know it seems counterintuitive that because all the airplanes are grounded right now, or most airplanes are grounded right now, that why would we be working on a center of excellence around aviation? Who's going to be employing aviation technicians? But guess what? Just like our cars, if you leave your car in the garage too long and you go out to start it, guess what happens? It ain't going to start. The same is true of an airplane, but it's much more complicated. So airplanes have to continue to be maintained in service even though they're on the ground. And so fortunately here in the Tucson area at the Pinell Air Park is one of those areas in the country where many airplanes have been parked. And our students are out there helping to service those airplanes to make sure when they're ready to go back in the air that they will in fact be ready to fly again. So that's just an example of why our centers of excellence are important and why those opportunities will continue through this crisis and beyond. Also, we've been doing a lot on the workforce side. We are excited that we're going to be launching a Google IT certificate, and we'll be making that announcement more fully later into the month. We've been working with our partners at NC3, the National Coalition of Certification Centers, partners like Snap-on, like Train, and so many other major corporations, 3M, to continue to deliver certification training that can be done online or done virtually. And so those partners have really stepped up to make sure that our students can continue their learning and have the least amount of disruption going forward. And I have to say, our Small Business Development Center, they have really stepped up in a major way. When the PPP program was announced as part of the CARES Act, and they knew that hundreds of millions of dollars would be funneling through the Small Business Administration, that they stepped up to help support the small businesses in this community, to help them fill out the requisite paperwork, to provide important guidance so that our small businesses could make application for those important loans. Also on the marketing and recruitment front, we are focused on making sure that we get the word out about Pima Community College. We're already launching our fall enrollment campaign, big push on showcasing what we do with Pima Online. We're already showcasing our Google IT certificate, and not too long from now, we will also be promoting through an adult education postcard our adult education program. Also, we're going to be doing a lot of work around retaining current students. Also reaching out to the high school classes of 2019, 2020 to start at Pima. Don't take a gap year. Come to Pima Community College, because we are a place where your hopes, dreams, and aspirations and goals can be fulfilled. And we will be making sure we communicate that. And we will also be focused on reaching out to the class of 2021. Our dual enrollment, believe it or not, has been growing, and it has grown significant over the last year. But interesting enough, during this crisis, high schools were still asking us to add more dual enrollment courses. So we're seeing growth in that area. We're also going to have a campaign that's focused on that working learner, that 24 age group and above to about age 54, who may be interested in a career change or who needs to be reskilled or upskilled. And then also we're focused on the adult learners that are 55 plus. So these are just the many new exciting things happening in the marketing and recruitment world. And as you all know, and if you have not, please go out to our website and you will see this brand new, very forward-facing website built with the student in mind. So we're very excited about that. And some of you might have heard recently our partnership with Catholic University. This was a partnership that was in the making almost 2 years now. And we're so pleased that we're finally getting to the point that we're ready to launch that partnership. COVID-19 has slowed us down a little bit, but it's not going to deter us in bringing more higher education opportunities to our great community. With all these positive things, there comes challenges. As you know, many of our students are low income, disadvantaged. Many of them have food insecurity challenges. They also have homeless, some of them are homeless, and many have other important needs well beyond the classroom. And so it's so important that we not lose sight of those needs. And so Pima is really pleased to be stepping up to address that, and you'll hear more later. And let me just finally say this about enrollment. When we made the transition at the spring break to the virtual environment, we did not know how many students we might lose. Fortunately, it was not as bad as we might have thought it or imagined it to be. So about this time last year, we had experienced about a little over 5% fall off in our students. This time, this year, we're around 8.5% short, 8.8% short. That's incredible, because when I talk to my colleagues across the country, they're seeing double-digit losses. In some cases, in the 20s and 30% losses. So we should be very, very pleased because of the great work that each and every one of you have done to make sure that we made this transition to be the least painful and least impactful in a negative way to our students. I think it's reflected in what we have accomplished, and you're going to hear more as we go through the balance of the afternoon. So I'm going to turn it over to our provost. So, Dolores?
Thank you, Chancellor. Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. My name is Dr. Dolores Duran Cerda, and I'm Provost and Executive Vice Chancellor for Academic Affairs. I'd like to welcome all of you for joining us today for our first ever virtual all-college meeting. It means a lot that you are here with us because we are a team, a collective team getting through some difficult times. It's been a roller coaster, hasn't it? But we're getting through it, and our common goal is to help our students succeed. So I would say my mantra when I make decisions with my team is that I look for social justice for all students through teaching and learning. For me, equity is very important. Looking at what our student needs are and giving them access to an education so they can fulfill their dreams and their goals. And it has been a challenge for all of us with this virtual instruction that we've moved into. So we'd like to thank all of you for your participation and collaboration with this. And we have a video that we'd like to share with you, which is a message of support. And I'd like to thank everyone who made it happen.
PIMA employees, thank you.
Con gratitud, muchas gracias.
And it's been rough at times.
You didn't sign up for this.
You've been amazing.
You've been amazing.
You found creative ways to teach.
New ways to provide support.
Because you know that without students,
there is no PIMA.
As we move ahead through strange times,
I know you won't let us down.
If we can work together,
we can conquer anything.
So I hope you liked this video. It was a great team effort to thank everyone for what we've been through, what we're going through, and what will we be continuing to go through. So I know I've expressed this several times, and the Chancellor has too. We've sent emails of gratitude, but this has been a tremendous effort for all of us to move into this transition so quickly. And we did it effortlessly. We did it with compassion, with positivity, with working together, spiritness, and just doing that deep dive to work together to get what we needed to get done to prepare our faculty, our staff, and our students, of course. I'd like to thank the Teaching and Learning Center working with PIMA Online. So during spring break, as you all know, everybody stepped up to help the professional development opportunities for faculty, adjunct faculty, and full-time faculty to transition to the D2L format. And I know several faculty participated as facilitators for those webinars, so I thank you for that. I thank the counselors, the advisors, academic support, student affairs. Everything went online. Everything, virtual student support, our classes. And I'd like to thank the deans for their work with their department heads and respective divisions throughout this process, not only during spring break, but after spring break, working on policies, on the incomplete policies and practices. So it's been an incredible group effort. And so we thank you for your flexibility and your patience. We're going to need that still. It's not over yet, as we all know. So I thank you for that. Adult basic education also went through a tremendous change in their program going virtual too. So not only adult basic education, but the ELA courses went online. Bridge and iBest also went online. The citizenship classes, and also for our refugee classes, packets got mailed to students, and for intermediate beginning and pre-literacy students. And the teachers provided instruction, or have been providing instruction via video and phone calls. So we've all found ways to help our students get across the finish line. And I'm very excited about graduation on the 21st, so I hope you will join us in celebrating our students and their accomplishments. So I'd like to share about a survey that we administered to faculty and to students as they made this transition. So this was called the Hanover COVID-19 Pulse Survey. And it was administered at 3 different points, 3 different dates. March 30th, April 13th, and then April 27th. So we haven't received the results yet of the April 27th one, but the other 2 dates we have preliminary results, and I shared that with Faculty Senate on Friday. And it shows that students are, in response to the pandemic and this adjustment, they're moderately, very, or feel extremely, that Pima College has been moderately, very, or extremely effective in making this transition. So those are positive results. And of course, there's some issues that we need to address as far as access and technology needs, but we will be and have addressed those. For example, Hilda Ladner, our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Officer, has been working with ZeroCraft and has been able to administer laptops, donated laptops. They're used and then they've been refurbished and updated to several of our students. Also, we have student emergency funds that are going to be applied to technology. The CARES Act, we have set aside some funds specifically for that, so students have those devices, and that includes hotspots, because we know some students have the devices, but it's complicated to get the service at home. So we're working with West Campus faculty librarian Chris Schipper to make this possible in loaning these hotspots out to students. So that's more to come shortly in the future about that. We're also very pleased with the virtual events that have taken place, and these are large events. For example, our EGTS Summit that took place last week. This is the Ethnic Gender Transborder Studies Summit, annual summit. They had their 5th one this last week, and I think there were like 175 participants, and it was from 9 to 3, and it was steadily well attended. There were scholars and students and faculty who presented, had incredible panelists, discussions on healing during the COVID times, and identity and immigration issues. So it was a very inspiring, hopeful summit. So we're very pleased with that, and we thank the EGTS faculty who ran this. Also, we had last week our first student town hall that was virtual, and it was well attended again. It was 2 hours. The format was excellent, so we had solicited some questions beforehand and answered those. Then there was a panel of student leadership, the student senators and officers, and then there was a live Q&A. And it went fabulously, so I'd like to thank our student senate leadership. I'd like to thank Student Life, who helped coordinate this, and especially to our Dean of Students, Dr. Suzanne Desjardins. They worked tirelessly, and we really appreciate how successful this was, because the students were very honest about their questions and their concerns, and actually the Chancellor, Dr. Doré, and I have been meeting with them periodically to get the pulse of what they're feeling, what they're hearing from other students, fellow students of concerns, and we've addressed several already, and then we will continue addressing them as they come up. So we thank them for that. Coming up on May 8th, we're having the Rise Women's Conference, which is an empowerment conference for women, particularly for our students at the college. And Student Life, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Office, and also the International Office have been collaborating in making this happen. So we thank you for that. And really exciting, and you've probably noticed on our new website, is that we have a student art gallery. So eventually we'll be able to see the student artwork in person, but for now, please go to our website and look at the student gallery and their wonderful artwork that they have done. It's so inspiring. And then as far as other virtual events, today we're having our All College Meeting, and then also our graduation on the 21st. So a lot of great things have been happening and will continue to happen, even though we're in this such a tragic situation in the world. But there's always hope, and there's always going forward with all of us together, united, working to help our students and our community. So some of you are probably wondering about the fall semester. So as you know, for the summer, we're staying in this mode, virtual instruction, And for the fall, I'd like to thank the deans who have been working very hard with the department heads and with our Assistant Vice Chancellor of Student Learning, Dr. Lamada Mitchell, for getting this fall schedule ready. They're working with also financial aid and the registrar's office and my team, the provost's office, in getting this ready. And so some of the recommendations that we're looking at is, instead of having so many 16-week classes, because we don't really know what's going to happen with the COVID virus. There are indications that it may resurge, maybe in November, the latter part of the fall semester. So we're going to be breaking up the 16 weeks to 8 weeks, so students can complete several classes the first 8 weeks and then continue with the second 8 weeks. And we're looking more at hybrid classes because we know how important it is for students to have that face-to-face contact with their instructors. I've received emails and talked to faculty, and at Faculty Senate, everybody says that, we miss the classroom. I would too, as a former faculty member, but we have to be careful with our students and their safety and health, and our faculty as well and staff. So, but one compromise is offering classes in the hybrid format. So you'll be seeing in the fall semester hybrid classes, virtual and online. And as I said, with the hybrid, you have a face-to-face component and then some of it in the virtual realm. So that's going to be for the fall semester. We extended the date for the fall registration. Originally had been May 4th, but because of the adjustments that need to be made to the fall schedule, we're extending it to May 25th. So that is our new fall registration date. And let's see, what else would I like to share about the fall? Okay, I think that's it as far as the fall semester is concerned. We can look at now, I'd like to provide an update about the CARES Act. So we received funding a couple of weeks ago, the first round of funding for our students. And as the Chancellor mentioned earlier, we're very proud of the work that has been done by the Financial Aid Office led by Norma Navarro Castellanos, working with grants, with finance, with business enterprise, and student accounts and student affairs as well, to get this out to our students. That was the main concern for all of us, the Chancellor, ELT, myself, everybody. We wanted to make sure, because we know the dire need that students have right now. They're not only taking classes, but they're working remotely, or perhaps they've lost their job. They may have several children, maybe they're single parents, and they're 3 kids that need to use the same laptop device. So they're juggling all of these different responsibilities, maybe taking care of their parents, etc. So we know that the need that they have is right now. So we made sure that they got the funds immediately, and they have, and we're very happy about that. So it was an extraordinary effort. So as of April 30th, 3,771 students have received funding. So that equals about to 3,094,000. And on May 7th, approximately 5,871 students will receive additional care emergency funds. And then right before this virtual meeting started, I got an email saying that we received our second allocations for the CARES Act. So there's a team looking at how we will be using these funds as well. And again, always keeping in mind of our students. And that includes looking at devices, looking at hotspots, looking at other needs that students have that perhaps are food related. So looking at food vouchers. We don't know if that would be acceptable to distribute, but we're looking into that because we know what the needs are of our students. So I'd also like to thank our Teaching and Learning Center and PIMA Online for working so hard to help our adjunct faculty and continue to through webinars. And recently, our coordinator of the Teaching and Learning Center, Dr. Mays Imad, presented several webinars for our students, live webinars on trauma, stress, and anxiety. And you may have seen a write-up in the Arizona Daily Star about this. So it's something that we're keeping very much in mind. Our students Perhaps they're not motivated for their class because of everything that's going on in their personal lives. These things were already going on in their lives and in our lives, but it seemed to have been compounded with the COVID-19 virus. So I'd like to thank the Teaching and Learning Center for their efforts. And we've been working closely very much with Student Affairs. I work very closely with Dr. David Doré, the president of campuses, and he oversees Student Affairs. So our work is intertwined. We work together and collaboratively to address all these needs along with all of our colleagues. So what I've shared with you today has been an example of unity, of working together for one common goal, and that is our students. And I'm very happy and grateful that we have been able to do that, and we need to continue to be a unified front to help our students and our community. So with that, I'd like to share a quote from the Chilean poet, Pablo Neruda. Maybe some of you are familiar with him. So this is his quote. He says, "All paths lead to the same goal, to convey others what we are. And we must pass through solitude and difficulty, isolation and silence, in order to reach forth to the enchanted place where we can dance our clumsy dance and sing our sorrowful song." So now I'd like to pass it on to Dave B., who is our Executive Vice Chancellor for Finance and Administration, and he will give us our current fiscal picture. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I hope you're all safe and well, and thanks for joining us today. As you know, we're in the midst of a major economic crisis. However, I do want to reassure you that the college is in relatively good financial position, and I want to sort of walk you through why that's the case and what we have to look forward to and what we have to look out for. So the reasons that we're in a relatively good financial position right now is the planned reductions that we've been undertaking over the past 5 years have enabled us to build up healthy reserves and more efficient operations, which are now providing a lot of financial stability that are extremely helpful in a volatile and dynamic economy. Our biggest revenue sources are stable, which are property taxes, and also tuition, which is based on a marginal model where if our enrollments decline, we offer fewer sections and we can reduce the cost. So the majority of our revenue sources are stable, and they can also directly have expenditure reductions associated with them. But perhaps most importantly, particularly when you're reading or hearing about other colleges and universities, and the University of Arizona has had a lot of press about this, the revenues that are at risk or lost due to the COVID-19 crisis are really a relatively small proportion of our budget. We don't have residence halls. We don't have large reliance on athletic revenues and other activities that are dependent on on-site activities. We also, at this point, don't receive any state aid, so the reality of the state budget reductions that are going to be coming won't have a major effect on us. And then another source is that we're not reliant on international and out-of-state tuition. So because the revenue streams that are really dropping dramatically because of the COVID crisis are a relatively small proportion of our budget, we're in relatively good shape. That doesn't mean that we don't have concerns, and so I want to walk you through some of the bigger concerns. So these are the things that we do need to be concerned about. Expenditure limitation. Most of you are probably groaning because you've heard more than enough about expenditure limitation over time. The challenge now is that the lost revenues that we have that are impacted by the COVID crisis, the little bit of international tuition that we receive, as well as some sales tax-based revenue, and some of the on-site contracts and services that we do provide. While a relatively small amount of the proportion of our budget, they're all excludable from expenditure limitation. So we really want to be able to just switch and offset the lost revenues with the tax revenues that we already receive. We just need to get some expenditure limitation statutory relief to be able to do so. So we're working actively and aggressively with the state to try and get those relief measures put into place. And we'll keep the college posted as we move forward with that. And we're working with the other community colleges as well on that. Then the next couple of things to be concerned about are really the uncertainty of this crisis. How long is the crisis going to last? Will the economy rebound? Will it rebound quickly? Will it rebound slowly? And then once it does, is the future going to look vastly different from what we're used to? All of those things, I don't have the crystal ball that gives all the answers to that. As time goes by, we're keeping an eye and seeing how changes or what the likelihood of these different impacts are going to be and adjusting as we need to. And then the most significant one in terms of the uncertainty is how is enrollment going to be affected by this crisis? There are arguments to be made that high unemployment leads to community college enrollment gains, and that we need to be ready to provide that kind of educational support if the community needs it from us. But there's also concerns that enrollments will decline in the future, and we have to keep that in mind. Next week, we're going to be talking with the board about the budget for fiscal year 21. There's a preliminary budget going to them Wednesday evening or Wednesday afternoon. Largely, it'll be consistent with what we've been discussing with the fiscal year 21 budget, the conversations we've had with the community and with the board up to this point. And one of the reasons for that is that the budget sets the overall spending capacity for the college. And because there's the possibility of flat enrollment or even enrollment growth, we want to prepare a budget that has the ability to provide the education should enrollment start to spike because of the unemployment. There are a few items of note that are going to be discussed on Wednesday. One is that we will be proposing that we do not do a tax levy increase. That is to give relief to the community and give relief to the financial pressures that we're all experiencing. We'll likely also have some discussion on the possibility of not increasing tuition. The board has already approved an in-state tuition increase of $2.50 per unit, and we'll be talking with the board about tuition as part of the budget. We'll also have discussions about the salary increases going into fiscal year 21 and whether we want to have soft freezes put in place for hiring, and then the continued need for efficiencies in our course scheduling and course fill rates. So those things are critical to how successfully we will go into the future. The other thing that we're going to discuss is what are the contingency plans for if there is a large enrollment decline in the fall. So if there's a decline of 15% or more, we'll be talking to the board about what kinds of contingency we'll put into place in order to manage that kind of a reduction. Doing what I've just described with the budget is going to ensure that we'll be able to provide the education that our community needs. It'll provide time to see what is going to happen in the fall. And as you have seen so far with how the college has responded to this crisis, we are prioritizing people's jobs. We are looking to maintain as much stability as possible in this difficult time, and we're going to continue to prioritize that going forward. But one of the things that we do have to be aware of is that large enrollment reductions will require future reductions at the college. That will be something that happens again once we see how fall enrollment comes in, and then we will, as we have been, very transparent and open with discussions about how we will address those kinds of shortfalls in the coming year. So with that, I wish you all well. I wish I could see you in person. I hope you stay safe and well, and really keep up the amazing work. You're blowing my mind every day with the things that you're able to do remotely and under very difficult circumstances. So it is really something I'm amazingly proud to be part of the Pima College community, and impressed with all of you. So thank you for all that great work. And with that, I will turn it back to Chancellor Lambert.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm pleased to talk about what the recovery, reentry will look like as we move into the summer and coming up onto the fall. But before I do that, I really want to acknowledge the great work that the board has shown. Their leadership has been critical during this very difficult period for us. I talk almost daily with the board chair. I talk regularly with the other board members, and we are all on the same page about what is our primary focus. And that primary focus is around the health, safety, and welfare of our employees, our students, and the community folks we are in service to and interact with on a regular basis. Alongside of that is making sure that we get each and every one of our students to reach their hopes and dreams and goals and aspirations. So I'm just so proud that we have a board that is so committed to the success of this institution. So I wish we could all clap and acknowledge the great work and the leadership of our board, but just know that they are with us each and every step of the way as we move through this crisis. Also, I want to thank my leadership team. We meet every day, and we provide updates on our progress. We discuss the difficult decisions that have to be made, and also when we need to get input so we can keep things moving with those two primary objectives in mind around the health and safety as well as the success of our students. Also, that group, we have also included our executive assistants as part of that, and we've included Libby Howe and a few others as part of making sure the communications stays as tight and as streamlined as possible. So with that all said, let me just share some of the thinking about a reentry recovery. And everything we're going to do has to be consistent with the CDC guidelines, as well as the messages coming from the state of Arizona and our local Pima County Health Department. So all of our decisions about recovery reentry will align consistent with the messages and the overall direction we get from our partners at the federal, state, and local level. So with that said, physical/social distancing will be with us for an unknown period of time. This presents an opportunity, but also presents a challenge. So as we think about how do we reconceive the use of our space with 6 feet in mind, that means that we cannot bring everybody back into our facilities. There's no way for us, given the amount of time that we have, to reconfigure all of our spaces. So I do not envision bringing every single employee back to the college in the summer or even in the fall. Also, alongside of that is this notion that we need to make sure that we provide the personal protective equipment for everyone. Again, when you start thinking about the amount of PPE that we need to provide, and as you hear nationally and statewide, there are shortages around PPE. And so for the college to provide PPEs to potentially over 45 to 50,000 individuals is just not realistic. That's another reason why it's not realistic to bring everybody back in the summer or in the fall. Also, we've been told we need to be careful about the number of people in a space. So in addition to this, the physical social distancing, we have the issue about the size of gatherings. You've heard the number 10. I've heard other numbers like 25 and 50. So we'll be factoring all of those things in as we reimagine and reconfigure the space here at the college. Also, we want to provide a very clean, very safe environment. So thanks to the board, we were able to invest in cleaning the entire district. Now, it wasn't just about COVID. The college had not done a deep cleaning of the district since its inception. And this unfortunate crisis has given us an opportunity to do some things which would have been very difficult to do otherwise. So we've leveraged those opportunities to do the deep cleaning, but also when you come back to the campuses, you'll notice that there have been a lot of improvements that have been made during this period of time, and we're so pleased that we've been able to do that. Also, there's the question of testing. Again, I would love to be able to test everybody at the college and be able to establish a baseline and then be able to consistently test people from there on. As you know, testing has been an issue at the national level and at the state level as well as locally. It is not realistic that we're going to be able to test every single individual at the college. So that also is a factor in why we would not be able to bring everybody back. And I imagine probably during a 12 to 18 month period, hopefully this crisis doesn't go beyond that, but if it does, we will continue to answer the challenge. And again, the focus being on everybody's health and safety and welfare, combined with our focus on the success of our students. So we're looking to bring back the courses, the programs in which the students must have a hands-on component in order to complete. So this summer, we're hoping to bring back many of the career technical education programs so our students could complete. Also, we may be able to bring some of the other lab-based courses as well. But as the provost noted earlier, much of summer is going to continue to be in this virtual format. We're hoping to open up more as we go into the fall, but we will not be able to open completely as we started last fall. So you're going to look at a blended model, as the provost talked about, hybrid, the virtual pieces, and PIMA Online. The good news is PIMA Online has been growing significantly over the last few years. It had already grown to over 30% of our enrollment. It is the single largest campus now at the college by head count. And we don't see that enrollment going in the other direction anytime soon. But I'm committed to providing face-to-face instruction to our students. I am biased, and I'll admit that. I, like many of you, we had the experience of being in face-to-face classrooms. And I really believe, at the end of the day, that is the best modality for our students. But I also have to be practical and recognize that the world has shifted. Prior to the crisis, more and more students were wanting to take online courses. More and more of our students want to take and experience a hybrid environment. So we have to bring all of those pieces to play into the mix because it's all about our students. What do they want? What do they need? But at the same time, we have to also realize that the skills that our students are going to need today and into the future, the fastest growing category is the digital skills. So the more we can help them get comfortable using digital tools, as well as working in a digital environment, the more we're doing to support their success long term. That also means that all of us will also have to get more comfortable with these digital tools. And I haven't touched many pieces of paper since the crisis. In fact, I think I might have only touched 2 pieces of paper this entire time. And that's probably going to be what our future is going to look like as we go forward. Because this crisis is showing that we can, in fact, embrace more of the digital tools into our workplace. So let me talk a little bit about the workplace. Now, I don't want to bring any employee back into the workplace who does not feel comfortable. So if you do not feel comfortable returning, if we ask you to return, please let us know that. We want to be able to accommodate your needs. Also, we do not want to put any of our vulnerable employees who have the vulnerable conditions at risk. So if you happen to be an employee who has one of the vulnerable conditions as outlined by the CDC and the other healthcare professionals, then please let us know, and we will work with you to accommodate you. And I want to say to all of you parents out there, if the school districts do not return, please do not worry. The college will work with you to accommodate your needs so that you can care for your children, but also meet your work obligations at the college. And let me talk about the work obligations. Because we are a public employer, we have a responsibility to maximize the taxpayer's investment. So I need to make sure that we all have work, that work can be done remotely in many cases, and we will work to figure out how to do that for each of you. If it can't be done, we'll have to have additional conversations to figure out how we can do that. Excuse me. But I just want you to know I start from the place that we want to figure out how to keep everybody employed at the college. We want to figure out a way to accommodate every employee going forward. But also I have to be a realist, and you heard Dave B. talk earlier, and so we will balance all of those considerations as we go forward. Now, this crisis has also proven something to all of us, and that is more and more jobs can be done from home. And although that is not our policy to have most employees working from home, this is something that we will be open to revisiting. And where it makes sense, long term, we will allow for that to happen. But no decisions have been made on a long-term basis around working from home. But I also want you to know that probably throughout the next 12 to 18 months, while we're in this continual mode of stay at home, balanced with some level of being able to come into the institution, that work from home will be the primary way that we accomplish our mission for the institution. And let me just say this before we take questions. And that is, and I think the provost said this, and I think Dave B. might have said this. We came into this crisis together, and we'll get through this crisis together. It is together that's the only way forward. And I hope that we can put aside our differences and continue to put aside our differences for the betterment of our students and for this community. They are really looking to us for leadership. I have the privilege of interacting with so many folks outside of the college, and I will tell you, people are so pleased that PIMA has opened itself up to the community. So many people are so pleased that we are here to answer the call. And now more than ever, we are needed. And so I'm so honored that I could be your chancellor so that we can make sure we deliver on the promise to this community. So with that, Lisa, I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, and we do have some questions for you. Thank you to everybody who submitted them. The first one is that we had offered a number of, obviously our classes went either online or virtual this fall. We're looking at doing more of that in the fall. What kind of support has been provided and will be provided moving forward?
So I can answer that one. This is Dolores again. So we have a lot of support for our students as they transition. So for example, the faculty librarians work very hard to provide services for our students and to promote that. There are about 6,000 students who have been working with online library services. So that's amazing. Nearly 900 students have accessed our COVID-19 student resource guide. There was a short video developed for students about the new D2L 24/7 support services. This was going to happen, the 24/7 support services for D2L in July, but we accelerated it because of the current situation that we are in. And so that has been very helpful for us. Also, the director of online student success created workshops, webinars for students to help them transition into the virtual instruction if they hadn't taken a class with using D2L, then this was their way to help to transition. So we held several workshops or webinars for those students too. We have faculty-wide and discipline-specific COVID-19 faculty resources have been created. Also, Dr. Jeff Teese has trained PCC success coaches for the work of nearly 300 virtualized courses. So we thank him for that incredible effort. Also, April 2020 usage of NetTutor increased nearly by 5-fold year over year. So these are some examples of how we are supporting our students through this virtual modality and online. So there are more developments. There's always continuous quality improvement, and our teams are always looking at how we can expand our support services for students, for online, for virtual, and for hybrid. So more to come. I'll keep you updated. Thank you.
Thank you. We had a question coming over the chat asking about how employees might be trained or upskilled to work in our new virtual environments.
So I'll go ahead and take that question. So fortunately, the great work that has been done through our Human Resource Office to retool their operation and enhance the work around organizational development and a big piece of that being professional development. We've enhanced the online learning library. So there's many courses online that you could access to really then have a conversation with your supervisor and really talk about what kinds of skills do I need to focus on so that I can continue to have a successful career, not only at PIMA, but for my future. And then look at those courses and say, how do those courses help propel me to acquire those new skills so that I can then bring them back and apply them in the learning environment. So I would say, reach out to Human Resources. They're here to help support you to be successful. And I'm so grateful for those of you who really want to sharpen your skills, because now more than ever, we all must do that. And as you've heard me say many times over the last few years, we are now living in a human plus machine world. And I think the COVID world really puts an exclamation point on that reality.
Lisa, if I can chime in, please.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So I'd like to mention also that we're going to be starting training or professional development opportunities for the pandemic and poverty issue. So Student Affairs Vice President Dr. Irene Robles Lopez is working with the Teaching and Learning Center for the faculty side. What is the role of faculty in this pandemic and poverty training? What is the role for student affairs, for administrators, for all employees? So you'll be hearing more about that, because that is not necessarily online skills that are being developed, but it is complementary to the situation that our students and employees are going through. Thank you.
Thank you. We also had a question about how we're managing open positions at this point. If positions should become available because of a retirement or other reason, how are we approaching filling positions?
Let me go ahead and answer that, and then Dave, you may want to just build off the answer. Dave alluded to it in his presentation. We are, we're using the term soft freeze, and what that essentially means is we're not going to hire currently vacant positions unless it's essential that we hire or fill that position. So a classic example of that is if we lost some nursing faculty. In order to run that nursing program, we have to maintain certain faculty-student ratios that are required of us externally. So we would go out and hire for that position. If we lost our provost for some reason, and I don't suggesting you're going to leave, Dolores, we would need to replace that position. So it's in very narrow set of circumstances that we would fill a position. And why is this important? Because it starts to build that cushion that Dave was talking about earlier. Should we see that our enrollments don't go up because of the crisis, but they go downward, that we have a cushion to make adjustments with the minimal impact to our current employees. Dave, I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, absolutely. To add to what Lee said, the other thing that we've done and had some good success in is that when we have essential positions come open and we have people who have the capability to build their skill sets to be successful in the positions, we're trying to encourage and develop those employees. And we've done it very successfully in the financial services area, where folks have gotten certifications. And external skills have been elevated so that they're able to move up into the higher level position where they hadn't been able to previously. And so there's sort of a multitude of approaches. One of them is to really focus on the employees we have, develop them through some of the training opportunities we have in-house. I want to add that the college also provides a number of courses, and we are excellent trainers and have professional development opportunities through our own courses as well. So I'll put a plug in for Pima Community College there too. But that right now we are really looking at, and I've mentioned to the ELT, any vacant positions you have right now. If you're going forward with recruiting for them, they have to be essential. And it has to be very clear that we need to get a critical skill set that is not available at the college at this time, and that will be that'll be more the exception than the norm.
Thank you. So I also see that we're at 4 o'clock, so there was one more remaining question. There were a few more that came in, and let everybody know that we're going to be putting together a Q&A, and we'll work to address those questions in that Q&A. So the last question has been, because this appears to be a very positive experience for everybody, will we do this again before fall?
So let me answer that question. So when you say do it before fall, remember we will have an all-college meeting before we start the fall term. Now, if you're hoping we would do one before that, we certainly are open to doing that. Please send your feedback to Lisa and her team, and because I want to make sure that we provide regular communication to all of you. And so just let us know, and we'll be glad to coordinate and organize as many of these virtual town halls that are needed to keep you all informed of the state of the college. And I just want to add some things to what Dave was saying. And I don't know how many of you realize this, but Pima Community College is becoming a leader in what we refer to as work-based learning. And what work-based learning is it's a myriad of options ranging from registered apprenticeships to an employer-recognized apprenticeship to on-the-job training to internships and the like. We're doing this for students and in partnership with employers in this community. What we're going to do is be applying that same way of thinking right here at Pima Community College. And so we are now a registered apprenticeship sponsor, so we have the ability to potentially sponsor our own individuals into a registered apprenticeship here at the college. Also, I'm a big fan of on-the-job training. When I was in the Army, I actually did an OJT, which resulted in me changing my military occupational specialty, MOS, to do something other than what I was trained for. And so I'm open to those types of opportunities for our employees so that you can grow and move up into different parts of the college where new opportunities are. Obviously, we can't do that for everybody, but to the extent that we can do it, we want to be open to doing it for folks. And let me close with just a couple of pieces. First, the United States of America has weathered one crisis after another. We will weather this crisis. And remember, just a little over 100 years ago, there was a thing called the Spanish flu. And as devastating as that flu was, the United States of America continued to move on and ultimately thrive. When so many people through the Roaring '20s benefited from advances in technology thanks to electricity, thanks to the automobile, not everybody got to benefit from those technological enhancements. But along came a young man named Lyndon Baines Johnson. In 1937, he was elected to Congress. And one of his burning issues was to bring electricity into the rural communities throughout the United States of America. So why do I draw that analogy? Because for many of our students, for many of our communities, they're living in a digital divide. They are not connected to the internet. They don't have the broadband capability. In order for the United States to transform itself to the next level and to a better future, we're going to need to bring that type of infrastructure into all of our communities throughout the state of Arizona and throughout the nation. And so Pima Community College will be actively advocating at the federal and state levels for infrastructure investments, especially into connectivity, so that all of our students and community members have access to one of the critical tools for their success in the future. And let me close with this piece. And I'm not going to recite the poem, but I shared this thought with our students at the Student Town Hall. One of my favorite poets is Langston Hughes. I know many of you know Langston Hughes. And he wrote a poem talking about dreams deferred. I used that poem to motivate me when I was a college student, because I realized that I didn't want my dream to be deferred, that I had so many faculty, so many staff, so many of my own students who we all pulled together and we helped each other so that our dreams would not be deferred. And I used that as a catalyst to propel me to where I am today. And I said to the students, this crisis is an opportunity. This is where you develop your leadership talents, because so many of us, our talents are sharpened not during the good times, but during the challenging times. And so please remind all of our students, and please remind yourself, that there is no reason to defer our dreams, that we can together propel this community for better times ahead, and there will be better times ahead. So again, thank you all for spending your afternoon with us, and I'm so grateful that we have each and every one of you as part of the Pima team and family. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great day.